Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of Sedaru Live's webinar. Today we're going to be covering how you can drive business and system efficiency across the enterprise with Sedaru's operational asset management. My name is Dylan McFeetris, and I'm the product marketing manager here at Sedaru. I've been with the company just a couple months at this point, but really excited about what we're going to be showing you guys today. I've got with me here today, I got Kevin Koshko, who's going to be my demo extraordinaire and give you a quick overview of all of our products and things today. So I'll hand it over to Kevin for a quick intro, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, wherever time zone you're in. Really appreciate you guys joining us today. I'm Kevin Koshko. I serve as head of products here at Sedaru. And yeah, Dylan and I are very excited to share with you some of the latest advancements in our operations management network intelligence platform, Sedaru, and we'll be going through several different workflows with you guys today, just sharing how so many disparate systems can be connected and better decisions can be made when you have the bigger picture, not just focused on silos and the tunnel vision that we can all be guilty of experiencing. So thank you for joining us today.
Awesome, thank you, Kevin. All right, so a little housekeeping first. For those of you who are in the know, it's a good idea to follow us on social media. We do a lot of our messaging and advertising for these webinars and other events that we hold throughout these different platforms. So please join us if you haven't already. As usual, when we start out these webinars, we're going to do a little bit of a covering of our utility automation path that we've called drops. And what we usually do is try and frame which portion of this, we're going to be talking about today. A lot of what we're going to be showing you is really how this real-time and optimized system, right? The system that Kevin was just talking about, it's going to allow you to pull in different data points from different data silos through integrations, through the ability to see more pieces of information in one place. And so we use this as a good way to frame that journey that all your utilities are on, from our paper-based workflows of the past to a self-driving utility of the future. And so today, actually, we're going to talk a little bit about this when we start our new participation approach. So something a little bit new for the webinar today. We're really going to try and encourage a little more webinar participation from you guys out there. And so a couple different ways we're going to do that. So we've always been doing these question and answers. We'd love you to submit questions throughout the session. We usually address them at the end of the demo, but we'd love to see more. We'd love to not be able to address all of them for lack of time. So please go ahead and throw some questions in there. We're also always looking for suggestions for future webinars from you, right? So you guys are our audience. We'd love to hear what you want to see more about. We kind of have our own internal ideas about what we want to show, but we'd love some input from you guys. So please go ahead and use the Q&A for some suggestions for future webinars. And then something new for today, and really kind of something you'll see in our webinars going forward, is taking a little bit of a poll from you guys. So at the intro, I mentioned I'm the product marketing manager. So I have a lot of information I'd love to get from you guys. So we'll generally try and keep these pretty short and quick, and just kind of get a gauge for where you guys are at with certain things that we're working on, or your interest in certain topics and that sort of thing. So with that, I'm going to do is I'm going to kick off the poll. Today we just have 3 questions for you guys. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to put this up on screen, and you guys can go ahead and answer. If you would, we'd appreciate it. And again, just trying to use this to help us inform ourselves about what we should be covering, what sort of topics we should address, and also to get more information about you guys, our attendees. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes here to go ahead and respond to the polls, and then we'll get moving with the topic for today.
Excellent. Yeah, and just
go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, thanks, man. Just yeah, as a review for the questions that we're asking here is where are you on that digital automation continuum? So this is really kind of getting a gauge for us to understand, where you're at in the journey of, taking your utility from typically, the paper paradigm into, as Dylan mentioned, our, kind of our self-driving vision of the future. So, this helps us to kind of understand where you're at. And then, we wanted to also ask you about, where are you at with asset management solutions? We're seeing, a lot of different ranges, everything from, we already have a an asset management solution that's very mature to we're looking for one, or we're still in the process of figuring that out. And then, lastly, we wanted to really get a good understanding of what vertical, what market you're in, whether that's water and wastewater. There's other, very specific things that Sedaru platform can support, whether that's, 811 locates, public works, other types of workflow. So just wanted to get that from you guys and see and feel where you guys are at today.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. So we'll give it just another couple seconds here. And again, this is, our goal here is just to get a little more information and force you guys to participate versus just listening while you eat your lunch. So everyone knows how much we all love to be forced to participate, right?
That's right. Yeah, at least we're not asking like an awkward icebreaker and having you guys go around the room. So this is next best thing.
Yeah, socially distanced trust falls are really a bad idea, Kevin. So I think we'll stick with this stuff.
Hey, 6 feet. I mean, you can make it work, right?
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for participating. I think we'll end the poll here. We'll move into to our session. So give me 1 second here while I end the poll. All righty. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about, as Kevin mentioned, the Operations Management Network Intelligence Platform, or Omni. That is a big core part of Sedaru. We're gonna kind of show you a little like day in the life workflow here, where we'll walk you through sort of the things you can do in Omni when you start your day. We're gonna go through some analysis, planning, assignment, and dispatch of work. And then we'll actually show you how that work is executed out in the Fieldforce platform that the operations staff would use in the field. And then we'll bring it back into the office again and kind of review, trend, analyze, and report on some of the work that's been done. And Kevin's going to show you a couple different things in here, some of the integrations with other systems that allow you to bring in the disparate data and to remove the data silos. We're also going to talk a little bit about how efficiency comes through the ability to see all this information in one place, the ability to easily use and manage that information, and then sort of the outputs that come out of it at the other end. So it's kind of just a brief overview. I'll let Kevin do all the fancy legwork here. But with that, Kevin, I'll hand it over to you. And one more plug, please go ahead and throw some questions in the Q&A for us, and we'll make sure we address them at the end.
Excellent. Thank you, Dylan. All right. Are you able to see my screen okay?
Yeah, it's looking good. Thanks.
Excellent. All right, guys. So what we're looking at here is Sedaru Omni. And as a refresher, Omni stands for Operations Management and Network Intelligence. There's really 2 parts to this platform. The operations management is a lot of work management, your day-to-day, things like preventative maintenance, corrective maintenance, managing the operations within the utility. The second part of it, the network intelligence piece, is taking additional things like sensors. That might be a SCADA system, that might be an AMI system. It could be something external that you would use to understand the quality and potential health of your utility within the network itself. So when you put both of those together, when you incorporate your operations of the utility along with things like sensors and understanding, monitoring and analyzing all of those things in real time, you get a very powerful story about what's happening within your utility. And really it is all about making better decisions much quicker and with optimizing the resources that you guys currently have. So what we're looking at here within this view, we have tiles up top. This is kind of the standard Sedaru view where you got your key performance indicators, or metrics as we like to call them, all along the top, and they're based on different asset types. So each can be color coded by a different type of asset or facility within your system. And then we always have a nice big GIS map using kind of the Esri ArcGIS platform to view and analyze all of your geospatial data. So when you put these things together, when we can incorporate things like pipes and events that are related to those, when I'm looking at hydrant and valve work orders, anything related to customer service, And then even additional things like operations. If I have treatment plants or facilities, pump stations, all of those can be incorporated within a singular view here. So as I'm scrolling over, you're seeing the tiles and different types of metrics, different types of performance indicators, depending on which asset that we're focusing on here. So the first one, I have actually dig alert tickets, right? If we have 811 locates that a lot of utilities are trying to manage, that coincides with a lot of the other things that we're doing. And we also have things related to pipeline work. So if we have active leak events that we're keeping track of, there might be main breaks, there might be service leaks, there might be planned shutdowns. All of those, and knowing where those are at in correlation to other things that are happening within our system is really important. So, we take it from, a simple work order system that might just say, okay, go out and do these tasks and then run a report, to holistically identifying every asset within your system, what type of work are being done on those, and then what are our sensors and what are the other things within our system telling us that might unveil something else that might be going on. So as we can see here, there's many different inputs, many different sources, and we're able to see all of those within the map view here. So I have hydrant events that I'm looking at. I have open valve work orders that are taking place, open customer service requests that have yet to be worked on. And then we're also keeping track of, as I mentioned before, these outage events or leak events that we might be focusing on as well. Now, in addition to our metrics of seeing, okay, what kind of work do we have actually open, we can also look at some of the values that are derived from that. And what we mean by that is, in the case of like water loss, right? So from all the leaks that we've had over the last month, we've had a loss of 211,000 gallons, and this can be defined based on time frame, based on size of pipe. So ultra flexible with how we want to identify that. And then we also have other things that we're keeping track of here. So here's a leak sensor alarm, right? So this month we've seen 3 leak sensor alarm views that have come in, and we're easily able to see those here. So I wanted to kind of zero into that. And here's that leak sensor alarm, the pipe along this road. And what's nice about that is it helps me to understand, okay, well, are there anything else, other events that are taking place that might be related to this leak event? So if I wanted to see, okay, well, maybe there was, other, leaky hydrants in the area. Was there flushing that has happened nearby? So in this case, we can actually see, if I zoom out here, so there was hydrant work alongside these pipes, and see both of these had leak events, and I can easily say, okay, well, wait a minute, if this leak sensor alarm happened, about 20 days ago, we were actually doing hydrant flushing right there on this segment of pipe. So usually what might be happening as a separate, department or a separate focus, let's say, of, you might have a leak survey going on, you might have hydrant flushing going on, that might be a separate crew. This is going to tell us a lot of those things and make those correlations for us. And we've seen a lot of similar things also with like automated meter reading, AMI systems, where you would have like a reverse flow event. You'd start seeing backflows within your meters, and then understanding, oh wow, well there's a bunch of valve exercising that took place right in front of that. And so instead of us worrying about, okay, the meter is not necessarily installed backwards, but we're seeing that these events are actually taking place and causing these events to occur. So we wouldn't normally be able to to zero in on those if we didn't have these silos basically connected together into a universal platform. All right, so with everything that we have within the Sedaru platform here, all of this is a GIS-centric view of your geospatial data. So I have my pipes, my valves, all of this information within your geodatabase that you would be able to see within this user experience. So we're adding additional analytics, and then of course the ability to take action on all these events and things that take place within our system. So a good example here is if we had 3 leak sensor alarms this month, what I can actually do is I can zero in on these, and I can look at the data that came in with them. but I can also easily just click on this work order symbol and create a work order right here to do a leak detection to see what's going on with this. And I can easily assign that to, a person or a group of folks, and go ahead and assign them. And then if I have other information here, these forms are configurable. So I can define what I want to see when I have a certain work order type, who I want to send this off to, and then I have a, a status that I can set, any sort of comments that we want our field team to be aware of, so give it a priority, start date, and off we go. Another nice thing is we can also use this to set up our PM schedules. So within this, I have this option for recurrence. So in this case, I can say, okay, well, for if this is just a leak survey, if we have an alarm here, maybe we want to say, okay, well, since we continue to get leaks in this area, why don't we plan on just an annual leak survey on these 3 pipes? So we can easily do that here, and I can set up a yearly frequency. Every 1 year, we'll start it on 7th of July. That starts today. And then, we can choose an end date of that as well. And then this option allows us to make sure that work orders don't keep stacking up if we don't get to them. So basically hitting save there will now set my yearly work order recurrence for these leak detections on these pipes. So every year we can count on taking care of those.
Kevin, one point here. I mean, you mentioned those forms and sort of the ability of those to be custom. I mean, I think the nice thing for customers and prospects out there is that, we have standard forms for all of these different processes already, right? So if it's a utility that's not very far along the continuum and really trying to move from paper-based to an electronic digital version, we can start them out with, this is what you're going to need to start with, and they can customize from there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, a lot of the things that I hear when I talk to utilities and show them a system like this is, oh, okay, well, this is really cool. I don't know if we're ready for that. But that's, and it's a common issue. It can be very overwhelming if you don't have a good guidance in place. And there's a lot of work order systems out there that, are extremely powerful, and it's challenging to get started with, right? There's too many, options, and with the Sedaru platform, we have industry best practices. It's basically like a templated quick start approach where you can really get in there, start using it. And, we have, hundreds of different, users input to, over the last decade of usage to, provide really great library of, a valve form, a hydrant form that's being used by, dozens and dozens of people every day that, that really get a lot of value out of it. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have a lot of that structure built in, ready to go for you. All right. So, and then just, kind of looking at different examples. So we saw how we can pull in a leak sensor information. We can create a work order directly from that. And we're not really limited to the different asset types that we have. So, if I wanted to look at like a wastewater example, I can get to that as well. So it's not necessarily just, water and leak sensors, a full gamut of really what you want to be able to collect within this platform. And this is a really cool example for managing all of your sewer line cleaning. So, you can basically have it, so it's defined into cleaning groups. So I have, cleaning group 2, 3, 4, and this is showing us like all the segments of pipe within that group. And then we can also break down of how many feet remain within those groups. So if I have a cleaning schedule and I wanted to say, okay, so group 1 only has 331 left, group 2 is done, group 3 is done, group 4 almost done. So we're able to easily define, okay, great, this is, we're making great progress on this. We can break up these criteria into really whatever we want to, to zero in on the type of work that we're doing. So, and this is another great example of, managing hotspots or other high frequency areas. So, there's really no limitation on, how we want to present that data, CCTV. And then we also have things like manhole inspections, fats, oils, and grease, restaurant inspections. So a lot of flexibility with the data that we can capture here. So, and then last but not least, wanting to show an example of like the public works sector. So not just limited to even the utility space, but if I wanted to use it for catch basin, storm water, other examples here. Maybe I want to manage potholes or other things. I'm easily able to do that here. I have storm structures and other things, street lights, signs, traffic, sidewalk. So ultra flexible on the types of things that we can manage within this platform. And again, being able to see, all these items within the context of the utility as a whole. So, if I'm looking at pipe work orders, or even if we have like a sewer line, and then we're seeing trees and root intrusion into those sewer lines, and then also noting that, the public works and tree trimming and activities around that. So the entire network of your utility doesn't have to be just limited to, pipes and valves. You can definitely take advantage of the holistic view and therefore get much more actionable intelligence as you work. All right, so did want to jump into the Fieldforce user experience. So give me just one moment while I pull that up so you guys can see how the work actually gets done. We'll just spend a couple minutes there, and then we'll jump back into the analytics and look at how we can look at performance over time.
Awesome, thank you, Kevin. So yeah, guys, just want to remind you all, we're definitely looking for some more questions. We got a couple that have come in so far, and we'll make sure we address those at the end. But feel free to post questions about what we've covered so far, topics we haven't covered, things you'd like to see in the future. We'd love any input you can provide at this point. So.
All right, so let me jump into full screen here. And you can see my screen okay, Dylan?
Yep, it's coming through.
Perfect. All right, so yeah, so this is that example. I'm running it on my iPad right now. This also works on iPhone. So it's nice to have that form factor depending on the type of work that you're doing. For like water production and treatment rounds inside a facility, I love having to just be able to use my phone. I don't really need a map of the area so much for those activities. If I am doing things like valve exercising or hydrant flushing, I definitely want to have more of a map view. So an iPad's a great fit for that, or you can use a Windows tablet. So a number of different devices.
And shameless plug for our last webinar a couple of weeks ago, we did a Wachs valve exercise overview. So if you're interested in checking that out, it's out on our webpage and easy to access to watch that one again.
Yep, highly recommended. So yeah, so then as far as the look and feel of the Fieldforce app, it's going to have that similar style, right? So going to have the tiles up top, the map, the panel, and then same type of thing. If we have a list of work orders, I'm going to see those up top. Here's all the different assets that I could potentially do work on, depending on who I'm logged in as. And then as I select assets and interact with the map here, I can see all the things that have been done to it. So in this case here, we can see some activity here, like when I click on this hydrant, I can see details around information, manufacturer, when it was installed, model year, and then I also see a full history behind it. So when hydrant maintenance was performed, so I can look at all of those details. I can also look at, okay, there was a flush of the water line, or excuse me, of the hydrant here, and then I have all that attribute information available to me. So making sure that it's easy enough to see what took place. And then of course, when I'm ready to start doing my work, I can go in here. Let's say we're going to do a flow task, and then I can start populating information really easily. So the key here is we wanted to have a very short learning curve. Users can get into the platform. We have a great library and template of different types of forms that are ready to go. And then as a user, you can just quickly get in there and start using the system. And the adoption we've seen is phenomenal. If you've actually, it's kind of cool when we do our initial training. We kind of walk through the software. Anytime we go back and visit the crews and teams afterwards, the speed at which they're able to walk through this and to fill out these forms is pretty amazing. Once you get comfortable with the system and it becomes your kind of your routine, the field crews using this just blast through these forms very quickly. And one of the key things is we did not want to have a system that's going to slow you down. It's pointless if we create a business system and a CMMS system that actually would make them take longer to do their work. And for us, the user experience is critical. the performance is critical. So, you know, it's definitely a huge thing within the Sedaru ecosystem to have a great system for field crews.
Yeah, and I'd like to mention too, Kevin, that the Fieldforce application works in an offline mode, right? So if you're in a geographic area with spotty reception or any of those things, it's not something they have to come back to the shop after and fill out the form. You know, they can do that where they are, and it'll sync back up as the connection comes back in.
Yep, great point. Yeah, for offline editing, that's key, right? And then of course, also additional things, we got validation built into the form. So, you know, it'll prompt them to, you know, are you sure you want to save if you're missing some of the data here? And then we can see from there, now that's been changing green on the map. We see that additional asset history added to our list, and I can always jump back in there and see exactly what was collected there. So, yeah, definitely makes it nice and straightforward. You know, as I shared, you know, tons of different forms available from our library. So, you know, anything from meter changeouts to valve exercising, pipeline, you know, investigations, water production facilities. So, you know, the platform has a lot of flexibility and ease of use to get into that data and manage those work orders. All right, so with that, we'll jump back into our Omni view. Give me just one sec. All right, and you should see me back here in Omni as well. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep, yeah, looks good. Perfect.
All right, so, you know, with that, you know, being able to actually look at the progress and the things that we're actually doing, you know, data collected, all of that in real time here. So, you know, if I wanted to look at different activities, whether that was, you know, hydrant work that was done, here's the, you know, the hydrant work that we recently did. So this was the hydrant that I just did my fire flow test on. You see that 58 static pressure, pitot of 35. So all the details that we got, you know, that's, you know, in real time here. So I have the clock updated to, you know, to set up here. But basically, being able to easily see what work was done, and then that goes for like holistically and, you know, as far back as you need to. So a lot of trending capabilities within that. So if I'm looking at, you know, whether we're getting information out there and we're inventorying things like valves that might have been broken, closed, or inoperable, so we can keep track of that. We can create work orders on those to take action on them. And then of course, looking at, you know, our overall, you know, performance of things. So, okay, well, let's look at how many valves that we've done this year. Okay, so looks like, you know, here's those trends. I can overlap and overlay additional details here. So maybe we want to compare valves versus hydrants. So, and then I can kind of zero in, slice and dice that data. And what's nice is, you know, I have a lot of good kind of metadata based on this. So based on my hydrant work that was done, I got a, you know, high of 14 hydrants per day, a low of 1. And what's our kind of average performance? And then if I jump and switch over to valves, we can see, you know, okay, there's been, you know, over the last year, you know, 699 valves done, which is a, you know, 42% improvement from last period. So we have those types of details. And then of course, looking at our kind of high, low, and average performance as well. So within each of these, I can always hit create report. I can throw that into Excel. And we also have some really powerful advanced reports that can be utilized to visualize data outside of just a spreadsheet. So that is kind of the, you know, the key details in a nutshell. You can see that, you know, from the time that we assign the work to the time that we actually do it out in the field, and then, you know, the ease of use for reporting. It's definitely designed to be extremely powerful, but allow for a very quick user adoption to get going and start using the platform.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Anything else you wanted to add before we move on to the question and answer period?
No, I think that's kind of concluding some of the demo, and yeah, I would love to, you know, hear from the team and answer some questions.
Awesome. I'm going to grab back the screen there, and all right. So, sorry about that. So we did have a few questions come in. The first one I think is a really good one here. Someone was asking, you know, if this recording is available for us to be able to, for other people to go ahead and take a look at if they weren't able to attend. And just thought maybe you might want to answer that one, since that's a nice, easy one to start with.
That is an easy one. Yes, yeah, we do offer recordings of the webinars. So yeah, so you know, we will be pushing this out. I'll have to check exactly when those get sent out, but yes, we would be happy to support that.
Someone asked, made a little bit of an apology about not listening the whole time, but they were asking a little more about fats, oils, and grease and whether broadly it can be used for NPDES pretreatment. They're a wastewater utility who has to monitor discharge into their system.
Yep. Yeah. So, you know, the fog setup that we have for, you know, a handful of utilities. So they're using it for their food service establishments, you know, making sure that they're in compliance. So you can track, you know, whether or not they have BMPs in place, and, you know, there's a nice restaurant inspection form that can be utilized. And then just depending on, you know, NDPES requirements, you can have, you know, you can modify those forms, you know, to make sure that your compliance is good to go. Within the fog platform of forms, you also have access to like grease traps and, you know, GRE types of assets, so you can monitor, you know, that type of cleaning and inventory as well. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. All right, so there's another one came through here. It's kind of asking a little bit about whether or not there's any device control from the application. I know that we've shown some of that in the past, Kevin, but can you speak a little bit to kind of how this connects out to some of those disparate sensors and SCADA items and things like that?
Yep. Yeah. So as it relates to SCADA, we very much intentionally do not have control over the system. So it is a one-way feed, you know, intentionally to basically provide as input to Sedaru, so it can use its engine to determine, you know, what type of events might be taking place, in addition to, you know, the ability for you to see and access SCADA data without having to be necessarily, one, a SCADA expert, and two, having access to, you know, the SCADA HMI, which might be overkill for a lot of users. So, and that's also true for different sensors as well. So as we connect to Syrinix, Echologics, other types of sensors out there, you would be able to, you know, we'd be able to read and analyze data from those, and you know, kind of take advantage of that without necessarily being within that platform.
Yeah, I think the only one, Kevin, that I'm aware of where we have direct control is with the Wachs integration, where you can actually control the device from the Fieldforce application.
Yeah, yeah, and it's remote in that it's, you know, you're connecting to Bluetooth to that machine, but you're there physically, you know, monitoring that and you know, having control over that device. We, you know, not necessarily something where, you know, there's a pump station, you know, 10 miles away that you're actually, you know, controlling things from. So, but yeah, that would be the device that we would potentially be controlling through the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one question here, which I've got another softball for you, Kevin. I know you're excited about this. So someone was asking, you know, if they're looking to implement something like Sedaru, do they have to have an existing work order system in place? You know, some sort of, you mentioned some industry standard, like real robust, really functional, but not particularly easy to use platforms. Is that something that's required for Sedaru?
No, I mean, Sedaru itself is a standalone work order system that, you know, everything that you saw today, you know, is Sedaru native functionality. So, you know, that includes not only things like, you know, managing, you know, work orders and tasks and kind of sub items of that, but also the labor, material, equipment, costing, reporting on that. So a number of dynamic, you know, attributes. And I think that'll be, you know, an important thing for us to cover in a future webinar, to really go deeper into some of that work order functionality. You know, with today, we really wanted to talk about the big picture and the vision of the utility. But, you know, there's much more to be covered as far as, you know, going deep into some of the functionality and some of the value that we can add. But certainly Sedaru is a standalone work order system that can provide huge value along with all the powerful analytics.
Awesome, thank you. We do have one more, and this normally we try and keep these webinars to a very much what Sedaru does today sort of thing, but I think this one might be a good one for you to talk about just briefly, Kevin. One of the participants was wondering if Sedaru can make suggestions about work orders that might need to be done. In other words, there's an example here of some pipes that maybe have not been inspected, and maybe asking for us to help prioritize the inspection.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of ways that can be done. So Sedaru, within our platform, we have additional applications that can support in the context of, let's say, pipe replacement. That's one example. Based on all the condition and work orders and things that are happening within the Omni platform, we have a piece of software called Sedaru CIP that allows users to define consequence, likelihood of failure, and from that have a very measured, actionable capital improvement and replacement program. So you can really define which pipes we should replace when. So that's going to help, define, kind of the roadmap of your CIP. But we can also utilize all of these inputs to make those recommendations as it relates to work orders. So we are working on a technology now that allows for much more automation of work orders, and that can be anything from as simple as, okay, SCADA runtime hours on this pump has now exceeded 2,000. Please, create an automated oil change work order for that. To we've seen, multiple, issues within this facility here, and there happens to be a nearby event that we noticed that the valve nearby is actually broken, and therefore we would recommend a replacement sooner than later. So there's a number of things that we can use, not only from the history of an asset, but also like the spatial relationships and connectivity of those. And that's all part of the network intelligence that Sedaru Omni brings. So it's much more than just attributes, but we're building in so much more as it relates to intelligence and getting you to a proactive, preemptive, predictive platform, which will ultimately end up in a self-driving utopia at some point. We will get there, but that's the vision, and it's a great platform to get us to that place.
Awesome, Kevin. Thank you. That looks like that was all the questions we had for today. Some really good ones. We appreciate the extra participation compared to our normal webinars. So we'll be continuing these as we move forward through these. For those of you that aren't aware, we do a webinar every 2 weeks right now for the rest of the summer. We've got a couple already scheduled with some good topics. We're going to do a case study here at the end of July with one of our clients talking about their use of the platform, which I'm pretty excited about. But we're still looking for additional suggestions or topics you'd like for us to cover. So please, as always, feel free to reach out or send us messages. Appreciate your time again today, Kevin, showing us how great this platform is and the value it can provide to the customers. And hope to see you all next time.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.